our contest page and register for your chance to win a pair of reserved seating passes for an early screening of the first 2 episodes of Star Wars Skeleton Crew, plus a chance to be the grand prize winner of a $200 gift card. That's KFAN.com, keyword contest to enter.
We have a developing situation at Buffalo Wild Wings Chanhassen. See you, brother. Good seeing you, kids. For those who have come to the Friday Football Feast, Charch, Paul, and/or I will throw shirts out into the crowd, and it's just like part of Nick Madden's street team. They bring shirts. They're nice enough to tie them up.
Yeah.
So they fly through the air with the greatest of ease. I managed to accomplish something here at Buffalo Wild Wings Chanhassen.
Yeah.
Where if I tried to do it at the state fair, and it's like, I win $5,000 if I can do this, I couldn't do this again. I threw 3 shirts that somehow managed to get caught between the ventilation system and the support for the televisions right above tables. There are 2 of them, and then there's one that's trapped behind a TV. On 3
for 3.
On 3 consecutive throws, I couldn't manage to do that if you paid me $5,000. But here's the developing situation: Bo Allen is a Super Bowl winning athlete. See you, bud. Bye, Grandma. And we just had the most athletic person at Buffalo Wild Wings Chanhassen.
And the tallest.
And assorted other people spilling people's drinks and shirts falling in wings because they're throwing them up there trying to get them down. These things are more elusive than passes to Justin Jefferson.
Oh.
Sorry, guys. What are we going to do?
You snared the first one up, and then to try to get that one down, you threw a second T-shirt at the one that was snared.
Yeah.
It got snared. Then you threw a third
Correct.
one, and it got stuck behind the TVs.
Wait, what's that? Oh, Paul Charchian just said $5,000 to the first person who can get that one down.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. You can keep
500.
Can keep that.
Okay, 10 free geese next year. Sound good? Speaking of fantasy football, let me get this out of the way. With the fantasy football feast. So it's an end-game thing for end-game rosters. Guillotine leagues are the only way to play fantasy. That's cool. Short segment. All right, here they are. Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
Okay, so say he becomes available. Is he an end-game guy for an end-game roster, meaning ship all in? And the reason I ask, because you laid it out beautifully last couple of weeks, how well he's done, comparatively speaking, to rookie tight ends. The guy plays for the Raiders, if you don't know. But he only has 3 touchdowns on the year.
Yes.
So we got a lot of yards, got a lot of targets, a lot of catches, points per reception. I get it. 3 TDs, and we're talking geese. Is he end game and roster?
He is, because it's so hard to get tight ends that get the kind of usage that Brock Bowers does. He had a dud game
Depends on where you're hanging.
last week. The week before that, I think he had 12 catches. They go to him all the time.
Yeah.
Brock Bowers is, and I made this point last week, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
He should be in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. When you are crushing the all-time record for receptions at your position, you should be in that conversation. But he's running a distant third to Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels because of the position that he plays.
Yeah.
I think to me, it's unfortunate that he's not getting more attention because he's languishing on a team nobody cares about.
Okay,
the Raiders.
we have an update, and it's not akin to the ladies' leg wrestling at Buffalo Wild Wings Crystal, but one shirt is down, 2 shirts. Two shirts are down, thanks to the use of a broom handle and a very agile individual carrying about the crowd. Hey, round of applause. Can I get a witness?
The Grant family showing up.
Raucous round of applause.
Well done.
Okay, Brock Bowers, though.
So, and by the way, there's kind of a connection to the Vikings in this week. Vikings are going to see Trey McBride this week. Trey McBride is so good. He's on 0 touchdowns on some. He's got 61 catches for 700 yards.
He has 0 TD.
And he hasn't scored yet.
Okay, he's 85 for the Cardinals. And when I started memorizing Cardinals numbers and looking at some things before the O'Connell chat yesterday, I knew he was on the team. Really hadn't gone out of my way to watch him. Somebody we've had on the radio show, but dear friend of mine, Drew Petzing, who used to be the wide receivers coach for the Vikings. He's the offensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals. Actually, a friendship that stuck from that regime.
Combine contributor.
A combine contributor for sure. So anyway, Drew said something into the season about him or whatever. I can't remember what he said, but I hadn't followed him that closely. He's 85. Now they use 2 and 3 tight ends a lot, and they run James Conner behind it or Kyler a lot. You got, I think my man's name is Tip Ryman from Rapid City, South Dakota. They use him a lot. Something called Elijah Mitchell. This McBride, holy cow, is he fast?
Yes.
He's fast off the line of scrimmage, and he's physical, and he's nice.
6'4" or 6'5", about 245, 250 pounds. He's a big dude with tons of mobility, and he separates, Paul. It's amazing how they just pepper him with passes in this offense. And Trey McBride is open so often. I keep looking at him, go how he's a beast. You know they're going to use him copiously.
Are you saying
how is there nobody near him all the time?
Are you saying he's end game end roster?
He is.
Oh, come on, he doesn't have a touchdown.
100% doesn't have a touchdown.
I'm not paying $300 for Trey McBride,
well, and then he doesn't
score a touchdown, and I get chopped. And how am I going to be surprised?
Well, you can't. There are no tight ends who reliably score touchdowns. Yeah. I want a guy who's going to catch 7-8 passes a game. Mm-hmm. That's what Trey McBride gives you.
Yeah,
and that's hard to come by at the tight end position. The Vikings have been a very good tight end defense. I believe they've given up 1 touchdown to a tight end this year. This is going to be a matchup that bears watching, because if you can take Trey McBride out of that offense, that materially hurts them, and it really does change how that offense wants to work.
Okay,
because he's such a big part of what they do.
Lastly, end game players, super special geese shipping all in today. 5 to go. The players who were chopped after next week, you can't go get. So that's right.
You get 1 more week of unrestricted free agency next week. So 1 more full week of bidding.
Got it.
Then after
it goes through the buys.
And that, so through the buys, through the buys, and then after that, we're basically doing playoff
week 14 buys that are aggressive.
I know, 6 of them, Paul.
Yeah,
Bipocalypse.
Yes. Always. So finally, end game, end roster. Josh Allen.
Yes.
But it's not a definitive yes. 18 touchdowns, 5 rushing.
Yeah.
You got, if you're sitting there with say, Bo Nix, and I gets Cleveland, but it's, how am I going to put this? They're like Lamar Jackson, yes, okay? It's
easy.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts, okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Josh is a yes, but you feel where I'm coming from here.
But here's why
it's a little different than
it is different. In the early stages of the Guillotine League, you just wanted, Kirk Cousins, somebody who's going to help you every week and not hurt you.
Yeah.
What you need now, when you need to score 120 points and not get chopped, you need the upside that Josh Allen gives you with a rushing touchdown and 2 passing touchdowns. Because it's no longer good enough just to have 240 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That isn't good enough anymore in the Guillotine League. So
that leads to heads rolling, leaving trails of blood.
Yes, it does.
Yep,
it does. We got to have we got to have more upside now.
You don't want severed heads on Thanksgiving. You don't want to be the gizzard of your Thanksgiving covenant. All right, that's Paul Charchian and Paul Allen, PA and Charch, feasting at Buffalo Wild Wings Chanhassen, into the penultimate when we return to KFAN.
Join the Power Trip Morning Show live this Friday at the Huntington Bank Rotunda at Mall of America. Starting at 7 a.m., we'll be playing the Initials game live for huge prizes, including a trip and ticket bundle to see your favorite teams on the road and the ultimate Minnesota Sports Day on Black Friday. Plus tickets to see the Purple take on Green Bay, courtesy of Pepsi. Get the full details now at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Well, the Thursday football games tomorrow go Chicago at Detroit, New York Giants at Dallas, Miami at Green Bay. And in the middle game for the New York Giants, it's just a few weeks ago, former Giants quarterback Daniel Jones felt he would be playing in that standalone game. And, man, all these guys, players especially, it's a short week. They may complain about it. Bodies get tired this time of the year.
Yep.
They all like playing in one of those first two Thanksgiving games. Now, you got the NFL Network clip at the end. It's probably changed to like Hulu or some type of aggressive sign up thing. But nevertheless, the late game's more of a business situation. The first two are immortality. The one at Ford Field used to be the Silver Dome.
Yep.
The one at AT&T Stadium used to be Dallas Cowboy Stadium. Daniel Jones thought he was going to play in one of those games. He got cut by the New York Giants. He cleared waivers, meaning nobody signed him or put him on their nobody signed him. And the Giants are picking up $11.8 million of his deal.
Wow.
There also was some aggressive big-time injury, $23 million chip that I believe has been waived.
Okay.
And reports are all over the place. Maybe the team has confirmed it. I haven't looked. That Daniel Jones has signed to the Minnesota Vikings practice squad. Now, this is a former first-round pick from Duke, had his problems with the New York Giants under this current regime. Had a wonderful season, specifically against the Vikings, where he won a playoff game. Then he got killed next week a couple of years ago. And finally, with Daniel Jones, yours truly, or we have confirmation that when you are on a team's practice squad, it's not like it used to be where you can just be like, oh, Paul Charchian's on your practice squad. I need a quarterback. I'll take him. I have to make him act. He has to be on my active roster for 3 games. I'm fine with that. Part of that's still the case. But in this new age of expanded practice squads, there are more players on practice squads than ever. Players have their choice. So in other words, the Las Vegas Raiders can come after Daniel Jones and say, yeah, but we want to give you this. It's a lot more than you're getting there. And the player can say, no, I would prefer to stay.
Yeah.
So whatever anxiety trip people were having over that, they don't need to. Daniel Jones.
We've talked this through a lot of different ways. Let me mention this. He could have chosen a lot of teams. There are a number of teams that are in a similar situation to the Vikings. But he ultimately chose Minnesota, Paul. And if you ask yourself why, I believe culture is a lot of it. Beginning at the Wilfs, who I think are one of the best ownership groups there is in football. Mm-hmm. Kevin O'Connell. You look at the person he is, the track record he has. He got the best out of Kirk Cousins. He got the best out of Sam Darnold. This is a culture that people want to be a part of. And by the way, also, the facility is amazing, and I don't think that factored into his decision here, but the fact that the investment was made to have a world-class level facility, I think in some ways helps as well. You look at those end-of-season report cards that the NFLPA puts out, where the players grade all the things around them, their coaches and the food and the facility and blah, blah, blah. And the Vikings are always at the very top of that. All of those things end up building a destination spot. So when somebody like Daniel Jones, who hopefully we don't need him, but if you do, and he's got the option, when he can go many different places, ultimately he wants to come here. And I think most teams would say this has become a destination place, a destination landing spot for a lot of players. And I think it says a lot about what they have built here, and just again the culture that they've got. Hopefully Daniel Jones doesn't play a snap. But if we need him to play,
right.
I feel so much better about finding our way to wins. And I'm not trying to slight Nick Mullins. I just feel so much better about finding wins for this Vikings team in December or January or the playoffs if this team needs to go to a backup.
Yeah, I don't, the first round from Duke no longer matters.
No way.
Okay, so Mullins, 7th round, undrafted, Southern Miss, whatever, no longer matters.
Right.
With what they run here and the offensive guidance here and the fact that Mullins been here a couple of years, Nick Mullins, for what Kevin O'Connell wants to do, is a better quarterback than Daniel Jones.
Well, he knows the system, the plays, and everything else. If they needed to go to a backup today, Nick Mullins would be the guy.
Okay, now the difference here would be Jones has 70 starts in his career.
Mm-hmm.
Mullins might have 25. But with Nick, let's not forget the last time we saw Nick full time. He was going for 400 yards against the Detroit Lions in a game the Lions played all of their starters and almost went to the Super Bowl and and then threw the game away. Who's that sound like? Daniel Jones.
Well, except the 400-yard part, yes.
Right. So it's I understand what you're saying. Like if you need somebody or whatever. I'll certainly not speaking for the team and just riding instincts here.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones will not see the field for the Minnesota Vikings this year, even if Sam Darnold gets hurt and is knocked out.
Okay. I disagree, but go ahead.
Really? Why? I mean, you're 9-2 and you just conceded the guy doesn't know the plays.
I think in time, once you feel comfortable.
I'm saying this year.
Yeah, I know. I think 2 or 3 weeks from now, it's a different story. It's certainly Mullins now, but I don't think you brought him in. I don't think you brought Daniel Jones in and told him, listen, you're not going to see the field unless 2 guys go down in front of you. I don't know that he would have come here then.
If I believe he would have. Okay. And the way I think is best to look at it, and again, I mean, I'm not saying I'm 10 of 10 right here, but just consider this. Like Sam Darnold, okay, Jones mentally, physically, and mechanically needs to be undone. You got to take the whole thing apart and put it back together and build it up again. And if you believe that's the case, like Sam Darnold, okay, Darnold, first round pick, 3rd overall, 2018. You don't go 3rd overall if just because everybody in the world whiffed. It's like they all looked at their analysis as all was like he's unbelievable. Everybody wants him. So we're seeing with Sam, look at Sam, the elusive nature of Sam Darnold. It's as good as we've seen here since who? I mean, Dante was big and would run away from you. The way Sam ducks under things and weaves away from things.
Well, Josh Dobbs, I guess, would have been the most recent example.
I'm talking full-time guys.
Yeah.
Okay, well, who knew? Who knew Sam did that? But see, that had to be, it had to be built up again. The confidence to just look at in season. All right. He's forcing it to Justin Jefferson because he thinks that's the right thing to do. Last 2 games, it basically has been, just speculating. Sam, I'll handle Justin. Do the right thing. Sam, I'll handle Justin. Let me handle this. You do what's right and what you see. What happens? Addison 162, Hawkinson 114 wins the game. Jones 100 and change rushing touchdown.
Yeah.
Okay, so but that had to all be rebuilt. He was so damaged. There's no way can I believe Daniel Jones. I mean, that covenant was so fractured and it's so demoralizing, and he was awful this year. Daniel Jones was awful at times this year.
At times, yes, but he did have a stretch of good games. He did.
He needs to be rebuilt, is what I'm saying. So this is, in my estimation, this is only Darnold won't be here next year.
Yep.
Mullins, who knows? McCarthy's off the knee. It's his money. But having this guy as potentially the starter while we wait for the Michigan second-year guy now, or his chief backup, I believe Daniel Jones accepted the conditions of all that, the way I laid it out, including it's a long shot you'll play this year, even if that guy goes down.
You might be right about all of that. I think I just feel better about Daniel Jones as starting quarterback than you do, and I think he is damaged goods for sure. You've done nothing but lose in the New York marketplace. Yeah. He has taken so many arrows, right? Yeah. So
you were benched for a third string guy who can't play. DeVito can't play.
No, but the reason for his benching, but the reason for his benching is they didn't want to trigger his injury. Yeah,
the 23 bit,
right?
Yeah,
so
good point.
It wasn't all just because he wasn't good enough, and he's a better quarterback than Tommy DeVito.
Right.
If we were to advance, hypothetically, we advance to the first round of the playoffs, Paul.
Yeah.
And the Vikings they'll be traveling, unfortunately. Assuming they don't catch the Lions. The Vikings are traveling to Atlanta in the rematch against Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, Sam Darnold's not available. You need to go win that game. Would you rather have the stylings of Nick Mullins or Daniel Jones, who at that point will have been here for 6 weeks, who knows the playbook, knows the terminology, knows where to go, and knows this offense well enough that he can execute it? So who would you prefer to have in that scenario?
Well, I'm not answering that. That's too hypothetical because I don't, it's Jones as the practice squad quarterback is not even the scout team quarterback. Okay, that's Mullins. So Mullins will be acting in essence as Kyler Murray this week.
Yeah.
Maybe Daniel Jones maybe they split. I don't know how it works. Daniel Jones, before things disintegrated in the Big Apple, Davy, don't forget, before he got hurt a couple of years ago, he was on pace for 90 sacks. He holds the ball way too long. That needs to be beaten out of him. Pardon the verb, but that needs to be beaten out of him. There are a lot of things that need to be reconstructed with him. He wasn't that good in the first place. Let's not forget. Daniel Jones had a short run in that playoff year.
Yeah.
He caught fire against the Vikings defense twice, and overall he was okay. They're taking a literal piece of clay that they believe they can mold into something that plays like McCarthy. Okay, they both move kind of the same way, even though Daniel's more of a runner. They both have good arms, and they both may have some mental work that needs to be done. One's coming off an injury, the other's coming off just an awful household. It was just terrible.
Yeah.
So it's who do I think should? I can't answer that because I don't know enough about it. Who do I think would be? I would bet Mullins, and I would bet a lot.
Okay, all right, and you may very well be right about all of that.
Yeah, and let's not, I'm not saying this to you, but the superficial nature of fans, okay, with all due respect, is news of somebody whose name you recognize is cool. That's cool. Daniel Jones, hey, look what we did. Hey, we got Grenard, Van Ginkel, and Cashman for the same amount of money it cost Danielle Hunter. Hey, that's cool. Okay, few people in here had any idea what Blake Cashman, Jonathan Grenard, and Andrew Van Ginkel could do. And that includes me. But let's not forget that this quarterback has been awful a majority of his career. Throwing games away, holding the ball too long, but like Darnold, okay, I would be a fool, like I said with Darnold before he started the Giants game up to that, is that You're foolish if you compare Darnold with Robbie Anderson and Jermaine Kearse, or Deontay Burnett with the New York Jets, Robbie Anderson and tight end Ian Thomas with the Carolina Panthers were running play action off Chuba Hubbard, who's good now, but he wasn't then. And then you would be foolish to compare that to how they operate here.
Okay, but
same thing with Daniel Jones.
Jones had the same handicaps.
Correct.
His best receivers, Wendell Robinson, and he's playing behind the worst offensive line.
What happened to Malik Neighbors?
Well, that's very recently, yes.
Okay, but what I'm saying is just consider how long through the OTAs, training camp, and the season it's taken Sam Darnold to get to a 300-yard game, which just took place last month. This stuff doesn't snap like that, man. It's really, really hard. It's really, really hard. And I just think that there are certain things with this guy that need to be pulled out of him, and this toy needs to be rebuilt. And once they do, then they'll have a backup to J.J. McCarthy. I think that's the only way to look at it.
So if you're going to make the investment in Daniel Jones to rebuild him for these final, whatever, we've got 6 weeks left of the season, don't you feel like all the more reason to try to bring Daniel Jones back next year so you can continue building on the 6 weeks that you're going to have with Daniel Jones here?
But see, I don't believe Jones accepts the deal with this team unless he knows those are the parameters. And again, that's another side of Kevin O'Connell that makes everybody want to come here. He's honest with you. He's straight with you. look, this sucks. Look at all these sacks. I feel awful for you. However, this is working well the way we're doing it now. There's no way are you bringing somebody in to usurp. That's what they did with the Giants.
Yeah.
They had people usurping spots without telling the players, and then the players went nuts. If you start leaping people like that, all these players know is that with the Giants, the last thing they saw, he was terrible. Okay? And that the guy they've been with for 2 years or the entire time just comes in and makes first downs and handles his role pretty well and
right.
and is a good metaphorical good soldier. Oh, what? He's going to come in and pass this guy with more interceptions than touchdowns? Almost got sacked 90 times 2 years ago? No, that ain't it. Those are things head coaches have to be careful about. So I fully believe it's been laid out. This guy won't be here next year. He's having a good year. That guy's going to be a free agent. The backup, not sure what's happening with him. That guy has a bad knee. If the knee's fine, it's his money. You compete with him. Or if not, you are his backup in this system with this guy and those guys, the coaches and O'Connell, and we'll rebuild you, and you'll go out and get yourself a second contract.
So are you suggesting, and I think you are, that there may be already some plans in place with Daniel Jones for next year? Obviously there's nothing contractual, but do you believe that there's already been some talks between
no idea.
these? I know we don't know.
I would guess yes. So here are the two things I would guess. I would guess he chose this spot because it's proven what Kevin O'Connell can do with quarterbacks who can't throw but can run. Josh Dobbs. Wow, we won games with Josh Dobbs. Are you kidding me? Cousins had the best seasons of his career with O'Connell.
Yeah.
Darnold is having by far the best season of his career with Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah.
So Jones is like, yes, I want to be in that covenant. I'm cool on the practice squad. I need it, as a matter of fact. I'll help however you want. Very smart. Very scholarly.
Well, Duke.
As you would say, scholar of the game.
Yeah.
So I can help back here and with this. Secondly, it would be moving forward. I recognize that the Michigan kid is the one who's favored to get the job. I'd like to compete for it after we go through an entire offseason with O'Connell and this group and build him up the way they did Darnold. And thirdly, I think that's it. I just think he knows those are the parameters, and I would guess.
Yeah.
And thus, that made him want to sign here.
Well, and, hopefully we never have to go down the path of who the backup quarterback's going to be. Let's hope Sam Darnold stays upright. He's taken, it feels like we've had some near misses on Sam, who's been hit, and he has suffered a variety of different injuries, ribs, knees. Hopefully that we're going to continue to keep him upright. Now, speaking of which, what's Cam Robinson's status?
Wow.
Do we know anything about his injury?
Well, today's the first day of practice.
Right.
So we'll get a practice report later. Ivan Pace Jr., 4 games, IR.
That's a tough loss, especially here.
Yep, and they found a way to play without him earlier in the season. But it's from an injury standpoint, is the team to the east of the river. The team to the east of the river is living right now. I mean, you just hooked the Niners without Purdy and Kittle, right?
Right. Well, and Trent
Bosa?
Williams and Bosa.
What?
Yeah.
Left tackle didn't play?
No.
Okay, but hey, that happens. Okay, and what do? You go out and kill somebody. Well, I mean, Tyreek Hill might not play tomorrow night. So, I mean, you talk about living right. Holy cow. So we'll see who plays in this game, Vikings and Cardinals.
Chicago, Detroit. Let me ask you about this.
Yeah.
So this is the second time in recent weeks where the Lions are going to play a team that the Vikings just eked out a victory against.
Yeah.
Last time it was Jacksonville, and they hung a 52-point game on them.
After we scored 20.
After we scored 20,
yeah.
right. And now here comes Chicago to play Detroit. I don't want to see Detroit throw 52 on Chicago and diminish our win.
Right. Well, it wouldn't diminish the win, at least in my estimation, because there are different ways to skin cats. The Lions haven't won a Thanksgiving Day game in quite some time. They didn't
win last year.
They lose every year. And they've been good the last few years. Well, they probably know that. So it may be, all right, Vikes scored 20 on these guys. We need 50. They might score 75 because we had the audacity to score 30.
Right.
So I see what you're doing here. I can't see the Lions losing. I hope Caleb and crew are competitive in this game. Lions are favored by 10, over under 48.5. Money line is minus 500. Come back plus 380. Would you put 50 grand on the Lions to scoop 10 grand? I mean, forget the
Yes.
I'm not the one to give the fight. Just,
yes.
Do you believe
I think
you'd be
would.
profiting 10 grand?
I think I would.
Okay.
Because you know how hard it is? Turning 50 into 10 is not easy.
Oh, geez.
That's, in real life.
Yeah.
Real life, trying to make that level of return, in the stock market, you're hoping for that in a full year. I can
and then
do that.
Jahmyr Gibbs fumbles at the 6. Tyreek Stevenson picks it up, breaks 3 tackles. Okay, we're cool. We can score. Then all of a sudden you get stopped, and Caleb puts DJ Moore in a double move, and he gets 65 yards behind Brian, and you're down. Can you imagine being down 14-0? Okay, granted, say end of the first quarter, and you've put 50 grand to win 10 grand. You don't become the elite entrepreneur that you've become by doing that. Giants at Dallas. Dallas favored by 2.5 over under 37. Dallas is minus 185. Giants are plus 155. What do you like there?
I'd like to not watch that game. Tommy DeVito against Cooper Rush.
Yeah, it's not DeVito. It's going to be Drew Lock.
Do we know that?
Well, DeVito missed practice. Lock got all the reps.
Yeah.
DeVito was quoted yesterday saying my whole body's sore.
Yeah.
I think they're setting it up for DeVito.
Well, it ought to be Drew Lock anyway. He's the backup.
Drew Lock sucks.
Big deal. Tommy DeVito sucks.
Drew Lock,
He's awful.
I mean, come on.
Drew Lock is a whole step better than DeVito. He was the number 2 all year for a reason.
Okay.
And they only didn't go to him last week because they didn't want to pay the escalators in his contract.
Wow.
Drew Lock is the better quarterback. That's how broken the Giants are as an organization.
What is it with this contractual stuff that we're not going to play Jones because we don't want him to get hurt and have to pay $23 million? All right, I get it. But you're telling me the contractual elevators for the backup have been considered?
Yes, that is what
they paid Drew Lock in rolls of quarters.
He's got a bunch of elevators in his contract. If he starts enough games, if he hits certain thresholds, and Drew Lock was going to do that through 7 games as a starter, and they didn't want to pay him. Think of the message that sends to the players in the locker room. We're not putting the best players on the field at quarterback, no less.
Well, then
because they don't pay him, and they got killed.
Yeah, but see, this is a nationally televised game against a division rival that is overvalued because it just won a game against Washington, which also these underdogs, these seemingly hapless underdogs in these division games. Dallas at Washington, Cleveland hosting Tomlin, Seattle's a dog at home to Stafford, and they find a way to win. So these dogs are barking a little bit in division games as underdogs. There is a game left on Thanksgiving, and the Vikings in Arizona will hit both those games when 9 to noon continues. From Buffalo Wild Wings, Chanhassen feasting on the fan. All right, so what do you think about that Thursday night game? The Miami Dolphins, Green Bay's favored by 3.5. The over/under is 47. Green Bay is a minus 175 piece. Comeback 145 on them fans.
This is maybe a trickier matchup than it looks like for the Packers. Tua's played well, Paul. Back-to-back 34-point games for that offense. Tua has absolutely turned around the offense from where it was, and it struggled for several weeks even after he came back. But since then, it has been much better. Past few weeks, they're finally unlocking some of the secondary and tertiary players in that offense, like my beloved Jonnu Smith, who has made a huge impact on that offense.
He has not.
No, he has, Paul. Jonnu. He has been fantastic there. Jalen Waddle finally emerging in the box score, and they're getting the ball to him a little bit.
Achane,
Achan, as he likes to be called.
Buffalo Wild Wings, Achan.
Yeah. He's they're using him smartly, Paul. He is a thin of build speedster. Mm-hmm. They've tried making him a workhorse that he just isn't. Yeah. Instead, you run him 10 times, you throw to him 5 times. Mm-hmm. You don't put him into a workhorse role, but you give him enough touches where he can make special plays. He hasn't had the dazzling highlight plays of last year, but Achan's been good. And so I think this might be a little bit closer than people think. Packers still favored, and they likely win, but Miami's they're playing much better ball and sneaky good defense too.
Well, what about it stands the test of time. the team coming from the 80 degrees with humidity playing the wind chill 15. I think it's going to be 24 degrees with wind.
Yeah, and Tua said that he looks forward to breaking the narrative that he can't go, play and win in cold weather.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Don Strock said the same thing.
Right. Sometimes that happens, and it's just I don't know that this isn't negative 10. It's 24. It's cold. Right. It's not like debilitating cold though, and I don't know that the Dolphins just roll over due to the cold.
Okay, Vikings and Arizona Cardinals this weekend at noon on KFAN. The Vikings are looking for a high five consecutive wins. Hopefully they can get it. And on behalf of all of us here at the Friday Football Feast, God bless everybody. Have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you for supporting KFAN the way you do. For Nick Madden's Street Team, J. Dub, Paul Charchian, and young Maxwell, I'm Paul Allen. Chat with you this Sunday from the purple palatial paradise known as U.S. Bank Stadium, where your favorite team at 3:23 on Sunday is going to be 10-2, and you're going to like it. Bye-bye.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.